All right, the Seattle Seahawks, your 2025-26 NFL champions, one of the worst Super Bowls I've watched. Halftime, I was like, what are we watching? The Patriots had put up no points. The Seahawks only field goals. There was no offensive production besides two great passes from Drake Maye on a drive and Sam Darnold, who made a few plays, and we'll talk about both of them right away. Definitely dull. And I appreciate defensive performances, and Seattle's defense, scary. And New England's defense, for the most part, very, very good tonight. But it just didn't feel like a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. But good for Sam Darnold, good for McDonald, good for Seattle to get redemption after history with the Marshawn Lynch incident and not running it on the 1 yard line and passing it. And this was their redemption game, and they finally got it. The Seahawks proved why they're the best team in the league this year. The Patriots proved why they are schedule merchants. Easiest path to the Super Bowl I've ever seen in my damn life. And I'm pumped to be back here on the show with you all. It's JV Show. Thank you for rocking with me from week one right up until this point. Whenever you joined in, thank you so much for sticking with me. I have great off-season content coming your way. It's already scheduled, ready to drop, coming up in about a week's time. So stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you're subscribed, you're liking, you're commenting, you're notifying yourself when I'm posting. It really does mean the world that I have this community built here on YouTube, guys. It's awesome. It's awesome I get to come on here, talk football, and how lucky are we? How lucky am I to be talking Super Bowl after a great year? We can talk about the Seahawks as the 2025-2026 NFL champions. Let's give some praise to Sam Darnold first and foremost, the guy that I heavily criticized coming into the playoffs. I just didn't believe it. I didn't think it could happen, but the guy proved me wrong. Sam Darnold proved me wrong. And I'll eat it. I'll eat it. I'm happy that the guy has succeeded. He played really well. And I don't even necessarily think it was a lights-out performance from him in the Super Bowl, but he did just enough. And the playmaking was great. And I think when you look at overall quarterback rankings, maybe you look at last season and you're like, well, that might have been a fluke with Sam Darnold, 14 wins. Can he do it twice? But he did it twice. And then he won a Super Bowl. And at this point, you're kind of thinking to yourself, I don't know, Sam Darnold's got to be in our top 10 right now. I just think it's dishonest if he's not in your top 10. It's dishonest if he's not. Seriously. Look what he's done. Back-to-back 14-win seasons. It wasn't just some magical year in Minnesota. He comes into Seattle, does the exact same thing, defies the odds against all the experts, all the people that bashed him, including myself. We look like doofuses now because he just won Seattle the Super Bowl. And the playmaking was phenomenal, and he has grown as a player and a processor of the field. He was spot on with a few great passes this evening. Made a great touchdown pass to A.J. Barner to seal the deal. Escaped pressure, made things happen with his legs. New England put pressure on him, and he dealt with it. There were points it was like, he missed the timing throw here and there when he was blitzed. But overall, this was a great Super Bowl run. And I don't like cherry-picking stats, but he is the first quarterback from that great draft class to make a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. That's got to say something. No, I'm not crowning Sam Darnold. I'm not saying Darnold's top 5. Because I don't think Super Bowl wins should necessarily completely sway our opinion. But it says something about him as a quarterback, as a leader, as a guy that stepped into Seattle, a team that nobody had. Keep this in mind. Nobody on planet Earth thought the Seahawks would make it this far, besides Seahawks fans. And Sam Darnold steps in. Geno Smith leaves, goes to Vegas, looks like a disaster. Sam Darnold comes in, he's his regular self. Balls out. Super Bowl performance. 19 of 38, 200 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. Good performance. And he ends it off with the Super Bowl, with the ring. Well deserving. Really well deserving, and I'm happy to have been wrong about Sam Darnold. I really am. He escaped the ghosts. And now he's got a Lombardi. And I don't think we can really argue that. And it's not like he was carried. Like I've seen quarterbacks who have decent Super Bowl performances and the roster carries them. And yes, Seattle's defense has been really good, and maybe this wasn't an all-time memory performance from Sam Darnold, but he's been throwing for 4,000 plus yards every season. He's been balling out. Hops into the Minnesota system, has a great year. Offensive line sells the bag in the playoffs. This narrative kind of gets built around him. He can't play in big moments. Goes to Seattle. Early on, you're kind of seeing the same things. But when push came to shove at the end of the year, the truth is that he delivered. And he deserves it. He deserves to be up there. He deserves to be in consideration as a top 10 QB, extremely talented, big playmaking ability, and now he's got a Super Bowl that he's added to his resume. Very, very impressive season from Sam Darnold. Well-deserved. I am very proud of the guy, seriously. I am. And I'll eat my words on Sam Darnold. I was wrong. A lot of people were, and he deserves this win. Same thing for Mike Macdonald. Although I always knew Mike Macdonald was a phenomenal coach. But I think overall what this season really proved to me is how much coaching means. Like, Mike Macdonald proved that coaching matters. That's it. Like, that's the bottom line. Coaching matters. To lead one of the scariest defensive groups we've seen in a while, for his defense to carry this Seattle team to a Super Bowl, to rally around him, for him to develop draft pick after draft pick on this defense and form them into this cohesive unit that just dominates the dark side. They ate quarterbacks alive all year long. And from the first minute to the 60th minute, Mike Macdonald dominated that Patriots offense. Besides those two throws from Drake Maye, all he did was eat them alive. That extra week of preparation, I don't know what the hell it did for Mike Macdonald, but he leveled things up. From the first snap, the guy was extremely aggressive, very ballsy, didn't care about the moment. He called his best game. His defense played some of the best football we've seen in a very long time from a defensive unit. Dialing up, slot corner blitzes, Witherspoon getting to Drake Maye early, young quarterback, inexperienced, biggest stage of his life. Mike Macdonald made him uncomfortable. That's exactly what he needed to do, and he delivered. And you could tell that this Seattle defense is a well-coached unit, and they're a well-coached team. They're disciplined. The gap integrity. They know their roles. They understand what they're out on the field to do, and they deliver. They seal the edge. There are rarely any big plays against this defense. They are coached well. And that is a direct byproduct of Mike Macdonald and his leadership and what he's done in Seattle. I think he's the third youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl. Very, very impressed with that guy. Like, seriously, he's completely changed Seattle. He has, I will say Seattle's been a very successful franchise. Starting in the 2010s and moving forward, like they've made the Super Bowl how many times now? And they've had success and they've won a few Super Bowls and they've been a good franchise. And John Schneider, don't get me wrong, he's been a phenomenal GM and that plays into it. But getting Mike Macdonald was game-changing for this franchise. And I was watching today this defense just fly around. And they played free football, but they were also under control. You know, they weren't out of control. They weren't really missing too many key assignments. They weren't scattered. They knew exactly what they had to do. But when they went out to make plays, they did. The defense put points on the board like they have all year long. The defense forced turnovers. They made tackles in the backfield. Like, rarely were New England skill players making these guys miss. And they dominated up front. That's the key to the game, really. They dominated the trenches. They made Drake Maye uncomfortable, and that's how you win the Super Bowl. That's how you do it. It's trench play, man. You cannot neglect the D-line, the O-line. That's where it starts. That's where it finishes. You have a quarterback who can't get comfortable behind his offensive line, especially who's young. Good luck. Good luck. And that was the story of the night. And to me, that is Mike Macdonald. That is Mike Macdonald knowing what's up, knowing how to run a defense, knowing what he's got. Look at the guys he's developed, squeezing the damn juice out of every last player he's got on defense. Everybody made a play tonight. Aggressive, gutsy, ballsy, confident. Between him and Klint Kubiak, there was no conservative game play or play calling. It was all out. It was, we're going to do it our way, and if we lose, who cares? We put all our chips forward and said we're all in. And they did that and they won. And I got to congratulate that. I applaud that. I wish my Buffalo Bills could do that. Speaking of Klint Kubiak, listen, I knew he was really good, but I didn't necessarily understand, how crazy his resume really is. Hopping from team to team, working under so many different systems. Klint Kubiak is going to be a phenomenal head coach in the league. The success he had all year long and in the Super Bowl with Sam, I'm throwing my pen around here, holy crap. The success he had with Sam Darnold this year, and I don't want to take away from what Sam did, but the play calling tonight, in my opinion, was awesome. And Kenneth Walker had a great game, and he made guys miss, and he beat guys around the edge and exploded for 10, 15, 20-yard runs, and he definitely opened up this game, but that mixed in there with the play action and the aggressive play calling and the shots downfield, even when they weren't landing, that is on Klint Kubiak. That's a coach. That is a coordinator that trusts his guys, trusts the process, doesn't get too shy, too small in the big moment, goes out there, guns blazing, and he wants it all. And now he's going to Las Vegas, and I completely trust that he is the man to change the way Vegas views Vegas football. To change the way Vegas views Raiders football. I think he's the guy. It was an impressive night. He deserves a head coach opportunity for what he's done in this league, for how many great offenses he's worked for how many great coordinators and head coaches he's worked under. This is a well-deserved opportunity, and way to put the icing on the cake with this kind of performance, with that play calling between him and Sam Darnold. I thought it was a great night. I mean, JSN even goes out with an injury in the third quarter or early fourth, whatever it was. And what does he dial up? A beautiful, beautiful play call for A.J. Barner back in the end zone. You've been hammering home the run. K9's got 150 on the ground. You motion Barner across. You get him involved in the run game. He leaks right through, wide open. Little scissors action, wide open in the end zone. It's like money. Klint Kubiak had himself a great year. And if I'm Seattle, I'm enjoying the Super Bowl, but I'm also concerned about what we look like without him next season. Because Mike Macdonald is phenomenal, don't get me wrong. But Klint Kubiak has been a crucial, vital piece to this offense and to this team's success with Sam Darnold. And I got to give him applause. Job well done. And he was a huge reason why they had offensive success when they did in the Super Bowl. Now, the Patriots, as a Bills fan, I was happy. I was very happy. The Buffalo Bills scored the same amount of points as the Patriots in the first half. We didn't play in the game. And for the amount of Patriots fans that were DMing me, texting me, laughing, we're back. Talk about the easiest run to a Super Bowl I've ever seen. The Patriots were schedule merchants all year. That was not a Super Bowl team. They lucked out. And the Super Bowl proved it. They finally played a good team. And I will say their defense is phenomenal. And Mike Vrabel's defense kept New England in the game for as long as they possibly could. But eventually you fall apart when you don't have the offensive line, when you don't have the offensive weapons, When your quarterback's young and inexperienced and turning over the ball, you're just not going to win big games against better teams. You catch Justin Herbert and the Chargers in a cold environment in the wild card. Justin Herbert, the guy who has not won a playoff game, he's been in the league for how long now? Then you catch the Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud. Oh my goodness. And then you got the Denver Broncos with no Bo Nix. I mean, it was a free pass after free pass after free pass, and they land themselves in the Super Bowl, and well-deserving. Absolutely. You won 14 games, but eventually the playoffs expose the weaknesses. Okay? This is what I said about the Rams a few weeks ago. Eventually, you get exposed. And that's what I love about the playoffs. You can't hide. You can't hide the truth. Eventually, you get exposed. I didn't think Drake Maye played all that good. It wasn't all his fault. The offensive line was shredded. Like, they really did not have an answer for Seattle's pressure looks. They couldn't even block four-man fronts. Like, they couldn't do anything. The pass rush for the Seahawks was just unstoppable. But I also don't think Drake Maye had a great game. Besides those two throws, which were phenomenal. I think both to Matt Collins, the one over the middle, that whole shot, and then down the sideline, the touchdown, which kind of sparked a little something before Seattle took over. Besides that, it wasn't a great game. And listen, like, I think when you look at it big picture, this is going to be the worst team that Drake Maye plays with. And they got to a Super Bowl. So that's very encouraging. That's very scary. But I also think it's fair to make an assessment on this playoff run and say Drake Maye was not that great on this Super Bowl run. Let's just call it as it is. He turned the ball over in every single damn playoff game. I believe that's the stat, or maybe 3 of 4. He was a turnover machine in the playoffs. And the reason they won games was because of their defense. He just did not have a successful playoff run. And the Super Bowl, the moment just got too bright. He held the ball for way too damn long, and that mixed with the horrid offensive line play was a recipe for disaster. But at some point, we knew the Patriots would have to call on Drake Maye to make a few plays. And there were too many times in this big game where Drake Maye just missed. A throw behind the guy, a throw a split second too late. Whether it was an interception, a fumble, a pick six, the turnovers cost him, they killed him, and they were still in the game at halftime, but it just didn't feel like Drake Maye could get in rhythm. I think part of that is getting him better weapons. I love Stephon Diggs. I love Matt Collins. That's my boy from Buffalo. Kayshon Boutte made a phenomenal grab in that Texans game, that one-hander. Like, you got talent, absolutely, but it's not... it's not all that. And I've seen a lot better. I've seen more talented offenses. And then up front, it's like, you also can't really blame the guy. Like, you can't win in the NFL with garbage O-line play. We knew they would get exposed eventually. I mean, they got exposed against previous pass rushes. The only thing is, like, the offenses they were playing weren't that good. Like, C.J. Stroud threw how many picks in that game? It just wasn't good. Jarrett Stidham handed the game over, turning over the ball in his own red zone. Like, those were the games, right? And Drake Maye could kind of just live off that and flow off that, and that was cool until you saw a team that moved the ball. And, hey, maybe Seattle wasn't as successful early on in this game punching things in when it came to the red zone, but they marched the ball. Every drive, it felt like, K9 got his hands on the ball, bumped it outside, a good 8, 10, 12-yard chunk gain. Move the sticks, move the chains. All right, we're at the 40. We can't convert. That's fine, though. We'll kick a field goal. We go up 12-0. Then we kind of get the ball rolling. We get in the end zone, and that's the game. Teams neglect offensive line play. And it is arguably the most important piece to build for a successful NFL team. If you win up front, you give your quarterback way more time in the pocket. And I don't care if you're the 32nd ranked quarterback or the first ranked quarterback, more time in the pocket equates to a greater chance of success. I don't care who you are. Those are just the facts. You got more time to process the field. You feel more comfortable behind your offensive line. And Drake Maye, who had already struggled on this playoff run, who had turned over the ball multiple times, was under an extreme amount of pressure and heat all game long. And he just did not look comfortable because Seattle's fronts were just dominating, because Seattle's pass rush just ate them alive. And they got to Drake Maye and they demolished him. And that really was the defining piece of this game. Seattle got to Drake Maye for 6 sacks. And he was constantly pressured and constantly on the run and always asked to make a play and do something. And I think it was a mix of like Drake Maye holding the ball a little bit too long and not delivering big plays when they needed it and missing a few guys wide open. And also New England's offensive line just being trash. So to me, that was the game right there. But good on Seattle. Good on the Seahawks for really, in my opinion, just shocking the world. I did not have Seattle in my playoff picture. They were just not on my radar. No DK, no Tyler Lockett. You ship them off. You bring in Cooper Kupp, JSN. Kind of don't know what to expect from the offense. Are they going to be great? Are they not? They're in a tough division. They win the NFC. They steamroll through the playoffs. They handle the Patriots pretty easily in the Super Bowl. Good coaching, good management, good drafting, good development, good players, good culture. Great team win. Dark side, they were unbelievable. Like, unbelievable stuff. That defense was a thing of beauty. And, you know, the average football fan might say, like, the whole game was trash. I would disagree. It was boring at points, but watching Mike McDonald's defense fly around was awesome. And then Kenneth Walker had himself a day. I mean, he was awesome. Sam Darnold, great. Like, they just came to play, man. They came to play, and they had long, extended drives, and I mean, like, let's just go off the stat sheet here, and let me read you out. Like, Kenneth Walker had damn near 30 carries for 140 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. Sam Darnold had himself a night, threw 40 passes. Cooper Kupp, 6 receptions, 60 yards. A.J. Barner, huge night. I mean, JSN wasn't even a factor, really. 4 receptions for 27 yards. But everyone came out to play. And Seattle, like, from the first snap, it just felt like there was a different energy. It felt like they controlled the game. They clearly controlled time of possession by around, like, 6 minutes. To me, it wasn't close. Like, it wasn't close at all. And I think the score reflects that, but even if it didn't, like, Seattle was the better team, and they dominated. And that's a wrap. Seattle puts belt on the New England Patriots. They are your Super Bowl champions. Congratulations to the Seahawks. Get pumped up for a great offseason of football content here on the show. Thank you so much for rocking with me as always. It's been a pleasure, y'all. And I'll catch you maybe in a week's time. Stay tuned for all this great content dropping, y'all. Peace out.